All right, today I'm going to be taking you through another one of my fifth grade lessons. I taught this lesson a few years ago in a public school in China. Now, the reason I'm posting these videos is because when I was a new ESL teacher, especially teaching the public school, I didn't know exactly what I was doing, and I was really searching for resources that could help me, and I found a lot of not very good resources online. And I think the best way to learn how to do something is to see it, okay? And I don't have much video of me in class. There are a few videos of me teaching on this channel, but I didn't have a lot of opportunities for people to film me teaching. Hopefully in the future I will. Right now I'm a student learning Chinese, so I don't have the opportunity to film my classes, but I'm taking the opportunity to show you some of my PPTs, which I've taught in class, with the hope that my ideas about classroom management, games, activities, and everything can help you. So if you think this is going to be useful for you, please subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be posting a lot of these videos about lessons I taught in the past, which work quite well. Okay, so if you've watched one of my videos before, you can skip the beginning of it because it's going to include the same classroom management strategies and me going over the rules of my class and everything the same way as I showed before. So if you've already seen one of my videos, you can skip like 5 minutes ahead and watch from there. If you haven't seen one of my videos, welcome to my channel, and here I'm going to show you how I do everything from the beginning to the end. Okay, so in the beginning of class, I always arrive early and I make sure the computer works. Then I set up the board. How do I set up the board? Well, the most important thing is that my class is on 2 teams, okay? The whole class is 2 teams, girls and boys. A lot of ESL teachers, they like to put the kids on teams like based on their row, and the team score only matters for that one class. I think this is a mistake, okay? My class is a running competition throughout the semester, okay? So the kids have a reason to behave every single class, not just sometimes, okay? So the way I break it up is girls versus boys. Why do I do this? Well, everyone that's a girl is remaining a girl for the whole year, and everyone who's a boy is remaining a boy for the whole year, okay? If you put them in teams based on where they're sitting, they're gonna be not sitting in the same place every day because the Chinese teacher rearranges their seating, okay? So imagine you're in a class with 50 kids and their seating is constantly changing. How are you gonna know who's on what team, especially if you teach like 8 or 10 classes in that school? You're not even gonna know who they are, who all the kids are in each different class, okay? So you need to find a way that you can split them up and have them remain on the same teams. And I think the best way is girls versus boys for obvious reasons. You know who's a girl and you know who's a boy, okay? And they remain that way throughout the year. Okay, so the first thing that I do when I arrive in class is I write girls, 10 points. I give them 10 points. Boys, 10 points. And Mr. Matt, 10 points. And then above there, the girls and boys, I put how many stars that team has. Now, in the previous classes, the team which had the most points received a star. If it was a tie, both teams received a star, okay? And I keep track of that. And when I come back to the class, I add the stars up and put them above the girls and the boys. And believe me, those kids know. If you make a mistake, they're gonna call you out, okay? So keep good track of this. Now I want that, I want them to have a stake and I want them to care, So you can see by how much they care about the stars that they want to behave in class. They don't want to lose points, okay? They want to do well in the games. They want to obey you, so that they can get points. They don't want to disobey in class and be rude and start losing a ton of points because of the peer pressure aspect. A lot of the kids really, really want to win. And then if you have a few kids in the class who are misbehaving, those kids are going to be discouraged from misbehaving because their classmates are going to not be happy with them if they lose points because of their misbehavior, okay? So this is really, really important, okay? So at the beginning of class, the first thing I do is write all this stuff on the board and prepare it. So there's consistency, so the kids know exactly what's happening, okay? And I write the date so I can use that in class. And I write, be polite, don't be rude on the board, so I can say that in class, and the kids can learn it. Now, I always try to model as much language as I can, bring as much language into the class as I can, and I don't want it to just be whatever the target language is of the class, and that's all I'm teaching. No, I'm teaching them a lot of other language. I want them to hear me use different language, okay? Not just the classroom language. As a native speaker of English, this is one of your main values, right? Is that you speak English as a native speaker, you're going to have a lot of other English you can include in the class, very naturally include in the class. And the more the kids hear of this, they're going to be able to produce it on their own eventually. I know this firsthand. I studied Chinese as an adult in a university in China, and even I'm 33 years old. And when my teacher is modeling the language to us and just not even making us learn those phrases, but she says it all the time. Now I know it. That's very powerful, okay? So you want to be repeating phrases, repeating stuff a lot in the class. The kids can get more input. They can hear more. Okay, so I greet the class the same way every time. Hello, and they say hi. I say hi. They say hello. I say, everyone, please stand up. I say, good morning, class. They say, good morning, Mr. Matt. Good, let's say the date. If they're older, I let them say the date on their own. If they're younger students, grade 1 or grade 2, I'll say the date, they repeat after me. Okay, then I show them this slide. Now, in the first week, second week, they're not going to be ready before class begins, right? They're not going to probably sit down, the majority of them, until the bell rings. Okay, but some students will. Some students will just be sitting there reading a book or doing their homework or just sitting there watching you. And when the class begins and I show them this slide on the first and second week, they were not expecting it, I say, oh, wow. And I have all the students who I noticed before class who are really sitting nicely and prepared, I have them stand up. And I say, who was ready and polite before class? She was ready and polite before class. I say it very clearly, She was sitting very nicely, quietly. She was watching me. She was very, very good. She was very, very polite. And if let's say there's 5 students like that, 3 girls and 2 boys, I have those students stand up. I praise them very clearly, and I add points. So I add 3 points to the girls, 3 points to the boys, and then I have them sit down, and I tell the class, if you are very polite, you can get points too, okay? So this is having them understand they can get points just for being quiet in their seats before class begins. So it sets the tone of the class. Like I'm already controlling them before the class begins. And also when students sit there and they start becoming calm before class begins, it'll be easier to control them during class, because if they're running around, their heart rate's all crazy and they're getting all sweaty and excited, when class starts, you're also going to have trouble controlling them because they have so much energy, okay? So I do this, and then I show them this slide. Who was rude before class? And then I'll call out the students who I notice were yelling or screaming or throwing stuff in the room right before class began. And I don't yell at them. They can clearly see the Chinese, which I have included here for the first few weeks. They understand. I have them stand up and I say, he was rude before class. He was throwing paper. Very clear. I'm making a throwing action. He was throwing paper. Or he was running around the room. Okay? Boys will lose 1 point. And then I have him sit down. Now that boy, maybe he wasn't ready for that, right? Well, in the future, he will be. He's going to now know that I'm watching before class, and there's consequences even before class begins if I see him being rude or disruptive even before the class begins. Now, outside the class, they want to run around the hallway or downstairs or whatever in the courtyard, that's fine. But if they're running in and out of the room where I am and I see them doing this, they're going to lose points, okay? Not only is it dangerous, but it's disruptive even, some students are trying to read a book or do their homework and these kids are running in and out of the classroom screaming, especially in older grades. I don't accept it, okay? So I'm going to be training them even before the class begins that they should have good behavior, okay? And then they learn. You'll see over the weeks if you do this. Even before I used to use this slide, when I used to do this, the kids used to really respond to it. By the 3rd, 4th week, I had half the class watching me before class began, sitting really nicely, and I would just look at them and give them a thumbs up or nod at them. I wouldn't say good job, I'd just nod at them. They knew that I was looking at them, And other students would notice, oh, Mr. Matt's already looking at them. They would sit down too, and they wanted me to notice them, And if it's a large majority of the class doing this, then I don't count each individual student. I just say more girls were polite before class than the boys. Girls get 5 points, and the boys will be more encouraged the next time to do it. And believe me, this strategy actually works, and it sets the tone for the class, which is so important, okay? If you got to set the right tone for the class, you have control, you're in control before the class begins. Okay, now in my class, I have rules, okay? Rules are important because if you're going to be giving them points or taking away points, there needs to be a reason why, there has to be clear. And I also want to use the time to talk about the rules as a way to practice English, practice a dialogue. So it's a question and answer, it's like a warm up and rules all together. So I say, what is rule number 1? And they can see based in the PPT that this answer is pointed at the class. So they'll say, rule number 1 is sit nicely. Now, of course, for the first few weeks, you're going to have to help them say this unless they're in grade 5 and they're pretty good. If they're younger students, you're going to have to teach them how to do it. But after a few weeks, they're going to be able to do it, and you're going to be able to click through these slides, and they're going to be able to do it like clockwork, okay? Now here, they can see that they need to ask me, what is rule number 2? And they'll say, rule number 2 is, I will say, rule number 2 is clear your desk. Now this is like a dialogue going back and forth. Or I might switch it up, and I might say, girls, what is rule number 3? And all the girls will say, rule number 3 is be quiet. Like, good job, girls. I give them an extra point for saying it all together and really nicely. Okay? Then they ask me, what is rule number 4? Rule number 4 is pay attention. Good job. Boys, what is rule number 5? And they tell me rule number 5 is speak English. I add a point to the boys. I say, good job. And I just want to say, this is so important that in your class, it's a rule they must speak English. Okay? You're going to cut out so much talking and classroom management disruptions if you tell them they can't speak Chinese or Korean or whatever their native language is in your class. If you say they can only speak English, you're going to make them a lot quieter, okay? And you want them to be quiet when you're teaching. You know, if you're playing games or drilling with them, of course, they're allowed to talk. But you don't want them just talking randomly to each other. Because in a large class of 50 students, if you have some students chatting with each other, this is going to start distracting other students. If you're not calling them out, making them be quiet, it's just going to spread, okay? I've watched teachers teach, and this sort of stuff, these little disruptions, they really take away from the experience of the other students, and that's just not fair. Okay, so if you have a class of 50 kids, 40 of them really, really want to learn, and then 10 of them are disrupting the class because they're speaking Chinese to each other, this is not fair, okay? This is not good behavior. You want to cut that out. If you tell them they can't speak Chinese, they're going to be quiet. And then if other students are calling those students out when they speak Chinese, like for example, they raise their hand and they tell you the students in the back are speaking Chinese, you don't have to necessarily take away points if you didn't hear it yourself, but you'll go over and tell them, be quiet or speak English. Are you speaking English? You know, what did you just say? Now, I speak Chinese, so I can actually go over to them and tell them in Chinese, like, what did you say in English? You know, tell me. If they can't understand, or they're lower level students who don't understand English very well, like, I'll ask them to tell me what they said in English, you know. And if they can't, I'll be like, I know you were talking, so if you weren't speaking English, you must have been speaking Chinese, and I'll remove a point, okay? And everyone will see that's fair, because if they were speaking English, they should be able to say it to me, you know? Okay, so on to rule number 6, raise your hand, very important, obviously. Okay, warm up. Now, everything we just did is sort of a warm up, right? They're speaking English, we're having a little dialogue, but that's not a real warm up. It's just like a warm up to the warm up. Now, I noticed that in China, they struggle with these numbers, okay? When they're saying the date, they struggle with the TH sound. So I use this opportunity to let them practice. And I always say, let's have some pronunciation practice. And I want them to repeat this after me, pronunciation, because it's a hard word, it's a big word, and it ends with T-I-O-N. So a lot of English nouns end with T-I-O-N, and I want them to practice this pronunciation of the word pronunciation every single time they have class with me. And I also want them to understand what the word means. So I've included the Chinese translation, because I'm going to be saying this in class a lot. Your pronunciation is wrong. Your pronunciation is great. You know, so they understand what it means. I don't have to speak any Chinese, okay? Now I might do something with the whole class, like I'll say all of them. 4th, 2nd, 24th, 22nd, 14th, 12th. I'll say it slowly, clearly. They're repeating after me, and I'll say, when or if I say red, you say 4th. If I say green, you say 14th. If I say purple, you say, and they'll say 24th. They understand, okay? And I do this as a quick game. I'll go, blue, and they're like, second. The first girl that says it, I'll give the girls a point, and then I'll do it like that as a game. I say the color, the first person to say the correct thing on the board, if it's a number, this kind of number, or maybe it's a noun or something I taught them, because this can be adjusted for anything, right? I just happened to notice in this 5th grade, during that time when I was teaching, I noticed a lot of people mispronouncing this stuff, so I really wanted to include it as part of my warm-up, okay? Because they need to learn this, because speaking a language, especially fluently, is about your tongue and your mouth and being able to move your tongue and your mouth in the correct way to produce the sounds, okay? Like I said, as a Chinese student, I experience this a lot. I can read Chinese off a page in my head, and I can do it quickly. But when I'm asked to say it out loud, it's more of a struggle, because my tongue and my mouth aren't as equipped to speak Chinese as they are to speak English, obviously. Okay, so this is how I would do this. There's multiple ways you could play this type of game. You could do it by twos, by rows. You could do it in a bunch of different ways. I mean, but it's just, and you should do it a different way every time you have the class so that the students can, it just doesn't get boring. Okay, so review. This is so crucial because especially in a class where you see the kids once a week, if you do not review, they're not going to remember, okay? And also in a class of 45 minutes, the target language, you can drill it and play games with it, but they might not all master it in that first class. But when they review it week in and week out, they're going to really learn it. So the week before this class, I taught, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the answer, I want to be whatever occupation because I want to, whatever that occupation does. So I would show them all this and we would go over one by one what the occupations were very quickly. So I'd be like, a businessman, a soldier. They'd be repeating an actor, a doctor, an engineer, a scientist. That's down the left side. Down the right side, it's what those occupations do. So protect our country, act in movies, design projects, do experiments, help sick people, earn money, okay? Then I would tell them to ask me, everyone or all girls, please ask me the question. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I say, I want to be a soldier because I want to protect my country. Okay, teacher Matt gets 1 point. Who would like to answer? And especially in the beginning of the year, or especially if it's a class where they're not, the behavior, you're still struggling with it, don't have them all just answer at once or go into groups with each other and answer because it's going to turn into chaos. I promise, okay? You can, at this point, have one student ask another student the question and then one answers. This way, the students the two students can practice in front of the class and the class can hear, learning a language is about hearing the language as well, not just speaking it. You need to hear it, and especially the ones who can't say this question and answer fluently, it helps them to hear their classmates say it properly. That way, when they say it themselves, it sounds right, it feels right when they're given the answer, okay? So I call in a few students. I might do this with 5 groups of 2. I call in one girl, one boy. Please ask her. And then the boy says, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she says, I want to be a doctor because I want to help sick people. And this whole sentence is given to them, right? All they need to do is fill in the occupations and what they do. But we learned this last week, so they should remember. If they can't remember, then I'll be like, everyone, what is it? And the whole class will help them, okay? I want them to help each other. This is also a really good way to teach, is having them teach each other, help each other, okay? Now, later in the year, you can put them in groups. Once they're really familiar with this, you can, when you're doing the warm-up, you can say, okay, ask your desk mate, and they can ask each other. Once you have more classroom control, you can do stuff like that. But don't go in the second or third week when you barely have control over the class and give them free reign just to start screaming at each other. Because they're not going to speak English. They're going to be speaking Chinese. You're not going to know if they're saying it right or even if they're speaking what you want them to say. And also, if a Chinese teacher from the school walks by your class and it just looks like chaos in there, it's not going to make you look very good. Anyone can say, okay, ask your classmate this question, and it's just chaos, okay? Anyone can do that. But can you administer the class and control them and have them controlled practice really clearly, and it shows you have control over the class and all this stuff is really important, okay? As an ESL teacher in your school, as maybe the only foreigner in your school, showing that you're competent, you can control the class and get them to do this type of exercise in a controlled way is important. Experienced Chinese teachers are going to walk by your class and say, oh, this foreign teacher, he knows what he's doing, okay? He knows how to get the kids to obey him and to answer questions, even though maybe he doesn't speak any Chinese, So they're going to give you a lot more respect if it's controlled practice, other than it not just, okay, here's 2 groups, you guys ask each other. It's just going to sound like chaos, and it's not going to be effective because you don't even know if they're, 1, like I said, doing what you want, or 2, even if they're even speaking English, okay? So because you can't hear anything if 50 kids are talking at the same time, and they can't hear each other either, okay? So I digress. So let's continue on to the next part. Okay, so I'm going to do the teaching part now. I always have slides here which transition so that I know, okay? Because when you're teaching a class, the PPT is guiding you through the lesson, okay? So I love having a PPT because it really takes the stress and pressure off me. Like in the past, if I had a class where the computer was broken and I couldn't use my PPT, you might forget a part of the lesson. So there's always something in your mind, a little bit of stress because you're I have so much stuff to remember. The PPT can guide you. So having a PPT is so crucial, okay? And it's visual, the kids can see it. Obviously having a PPT is really good. So I'm going to show them this. It's Chinese. I just want to see if they know how to say it. I'm testing them. Do they know how to say this in English? Now in a 5th grade class, some of them are going to know it's once, okay? It's once. I put the Chinese on there so I can see if they know. If I just show them once, they can all maybe read it, but maybe they don't know what it means, but I'm not sure, you know. But if I show them Chinese and I'm getting students raising their hands and a few of them are telling me it's once, then now I know that they know, okay? And I also teach them they can say one time. So I drill it once, one time. They're not going to know this one probably in 5th grade, but twice, 2 times. And I teach them 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, okay? And I tell them you can say 6 times, 7 times, 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, okay? It's really simple, okay? The point is that this is building into a larger language. I want to make sure they know this basic part. Then I show them this. Now in 5th grade, they're going to know the word week. The majority of the class is going to know. But again, I have the Chinese there just in case some don't know. When I do teach them that it's once a week, that this is very clear because the Chinese is also there. So I say once a week and they just chant it back to me. Once a week, once a week. Twice a week, twice a week. Now in this first few slides, you can call on a kid. Like when you first show them this, you can say, who knows how to say this? And the kid will stand up and say once a week. Who knows how to say this? And call on a student twice a week. And you can say, do you know how to say this? Everyone. You can signal the whole class should scream it out 3 times a week. And if it's really not clear, you can call on a single student to tell you, okay? 3 times a week. 5 times a week. This part of the lesson is just teaching them the concept, teach them how to say it, and let them drill it. Once a month. Now, before I even do this, I'll just show them this. And they can see the Chinese very clearly, right? So they're going to see, like they know what it means, but maybe they don't know exactly how to say it. But maybe if you will, so you can ask if they know. And actually by this point, they're going to be pretty excited when you show them this because the other part's really clear and they're doing the same thing again and again and again. So by the time you get to this slide, they're going to know. And I'll be like, what is it? And they're going to probably scream it out once a month because they all know the word month by 5th grade. Okay, then you show them this, and they'll be looking, and they'll know it's twice a month. Good job. And then they'll be looking very quickly, 4 times a month. Okay, and then here they'll be like, and a smart student will tell you, he'll raise his hand, and he'll say once a year. Okay, now I want to play it as a game because in my class everything is a task-based approach, which means I teach them something. In this case, I was probably teaching about half the class that. The other half knew it, okay? The other half knew it because I was at a top school in Nanjing, so like a top public school in Nanjing. A lot of the kids have English class on the weekend. The problem is, even if they knew some of this stuff, maybe they can't say it fluently or they're missing part of it. Like they don't say 4 times a month, they say 4 times a month, or they say 4 times a month. You know, they almost got it, but they don't have it perfectly. So this part was, even for the good students to really nail it down, they can say it correctly, okay? Now I want to play it as a game. So what do? I call a boy and a girl, and I have them stand up at their seats, and I tell them, okay, this is an important concept. I'm going to explain the rules to them because I want them to listen and try to understand me. So I'm going to say it very clearly. I'm going to show you a picture. If you were smart enough to explain the word calendar, you could say the word calendar to them, that this is a calendar when you're teaching it, you know. Even before, it might even be wise to add, I didn't do this in my class, but you might even want to add the word calendar here, like teach them the word calendar so you can refer to it as a calendar. You can. I didn't do that and it worked fine, but you can add that so you can refer to it as a calendar. In this part, you could say, like, I'm going to show you a calendar. You tell me once a week, twice a week, once a month, once a year, twice a year. And some of the students are going to be like signaling to you, like, I know, okay? You call on a few of the students who you think got it, and you say, I'm going to show you. Are you ready? And they say, yes. I say it very quickly. What is it? And they'll be like, and the first one who says twice a month will get a point for their team, okay? Because I called on one boy and one girl. So when we play the game, if it's a girl who says it first, she'll get a point. So she'll say it, I'll show it, and I'll say it again. She'll say twice a month. I'm like, everyone. And they'll say twice a month. Good job. They sit down, call 2 more students, same thing again, and the first student who says it, once a week, okay? Now, if you've seen my other videos, you know I like this kind of drilling because it's exciting for the students. They're gonna be anticipating this type of thing. It's fun, and they're practicing the language and they're trying to say it quickly, which is really important for fluency, that they can see something and produce it in English really fast. Because when you can do that in a second language, you're really boosting your fluency and understanding of the language. If you can just see this and you can quickly say it in another language, the faster you can do that, the more fluent you're going to become, okay? Because you need to be thinking quickly when you speak another language. It has to come to you quickly, okay? So I want to get them good at this. Okay, so you rinse and repeat with this method. You keep calling in 2 students, or you call in 4 students at a time. If you call in 4 students at a time, you say, okay, 2 boys, 2 girls, stand up. Are you ready? Then you show them. The first one who says 4 times a month, that person gets a point for their team. Now, if you have a class of 50, and during this game there's 6 slides, and you call in 4 students each slide, half the class just played this game, which is pretty good, okay? So you keep doing it like this, drilling it twice so week, whole class says it. Next one. 4 students at a time, do it, and you can really get a lot of kids to practice it. And I would continue to do it, okay? Continue throughout the whole thing, and yeah. Then I go on to the next part of the teaching, and I'm going to say, how do you say this in English? And some of the students might know, we say free time, okay? Free time, good. Again, I include the Chinese just so the concept was clear, you know. Okay, so I show them this, and I point at each one by one. So I'll be like, what's this? And they'll say, now in 5th grade, the students are going to know some of these are really easy, okay? They're going to say, watch TV, watch TV. This one, they're going to say, go to the movies. Maybe they can't do it, okay? I'm going to teach them some of this in the class itself. This is sort of like a warm-up into this lesson so they can get the idea that we're talking about activities you do in your free time. So I'm going to go through each one, and they're going to say it quickly, okay? This is just to get them thinking about this concept. I don't need to make sure that they know how to say each one of these during this part of the lesson because I'm going to teach them some of these. So I just want them to see it and understand the concept that what we're talking about, okay? And then I showed them this one, and if you've seen my previous lesson, you know that I forgot to include this because this was I think the 2nd or 3rd week of the semester. I took the slide out, or I didn't include the slide this time when I was making the lesson that asked if the students had their notebook in the beginning of class. Normally I do include that, so I apologize, but the first thing I do after I go through the rules and before the review is I make sure my students have their notebook, okay? That was an oversight by me. I should have mentioned that, but I always do that in the class. The students, once they get used to you, they're gonna know you're gonna do that, so they're gonna have their notebooks ready. Anyone who doesn't have their notebook, they're gonna lose 1 point for their team. So if 5 girls don't have the notebook, the girls lose 5 points right after the rules, okay? During that part of the class, same thing with the boys. So this signifies they should write whatever I just said down in their notebook, okay? So I asked them, how do you say this in English? How do you say this in English? Now this was just included on the other slides, so some of them might remember. If not, then you just say it with them and show them. I say play an instrument, play an instrument. And I might do like a little action, play an instrument, and I make sure I count out the syllables because this word is long. Instrument. Instrument. It's hard. Some of the students, when I taught this, I remember they said play a musical instrument. I was like, wow. I wasn't even teaching that part. I was just saying play an instrument. And some of the students already knew. Not very many of them, but out of my 350 students, probably like 10 or 15 already knew like play a musical instrument, which was more than I was trying to teach them in this class. But I just want to teach them play an instrument. I drill it, they write it down, I say it a few times, and I move on. This one, a lot of the boys are going to know. You show them, they're all raising their hand, okay? And the point is not that they're going to learn this as a new thing, but that they're going to make sure they're saying it correctly, right? Play video games. Pronounce everything, you know. Pronounce it correctly so that, like there's Chinese stuff that I know, but well, I think I know it, but when I try to say it, people are telling me I'm saying it wrong because my pronunciation is wrong. When I say it, it sounds right to me, but I'm saying it wrong. And so this happens to Chinese students in English, obviously, too. I mean, they don't even realize they're saying it wrong, even though they understand it. So I want to drill it with them, make sure we can nail down the proper pronunciation, okay? So I do the same thing with all these. This one's super easy. This is the easiest one. They all know it. Go shopping. They write it down in their notebook. Same thing with this one. This is an easy one. Go to the cinema or go to the movies, and I drill both of them, okay? I want them to know both. A lot of Chinese students only know the word cinema. I want them to also know they can say in movies, okay? This one, they're not going to know how to say it. So I show them, visit my grandparents. Obviously, I ask them if they know, but they don't know how to, they just say see my grandparents or something like this. I want to teach them the word visit, especially in my class, because I find that if the class is too easy and the top students feel like everything they're learning is just so easy, it's too easy, that they feel bored. So I want the top students to also feel like they can get something out of the class. There's still stuff there they don't know, but it's not so difficult that the lower level students can't understand. Okay? Because in this school, there was some pretty good students, but then, in a class of 50, you still have students who are lower level. You still have at least 10 of them who are lagging behind. And you don't want it to be so hard that they can't keep up, but also don't want it to be so easy that the good students, the top students, feel like it's boring. So this is also a really important thing for classroom management, is that your class, it's really geared toward the middle of the road, but it also, because you include Chinese, there's no confusion. The lower level students can understand what's going on, and then the higher level students can still learn words like visit, and even if they already know the word visit, you might notice their pronunciation is wrong, so you can tell them, your pronunciation is not right. Look at me, visit, and they repeat after you, okay? So top students can still learn. This one's really easy. In grade 5, they're going to know. I just want to make sure that they can pronounce it right, that they definitely know it, okay? Now, we're going to play a game. Again, task-based approach. I teach, and then I play a game. Now, I really like this game because, like I said, I can read Chinese and speak Chinese, so I can play this game. This is like an idea for you. If you don't know any Chinese or you don't know any of the language of the place you're going to be teaching in, you can't really play this game because you're not going to know for sure unless one of the students is really honest. But I like this game because it includes the whole class, which I like, and also you can really make sure they know how to say the stuff because they can't read it in English. So what I do is I show that one of the Chinese things I just taught in English, and they have to tell me, play video games. So you just show them, and the first person who says this in English is going to get a point. So I tell them, I'm going to show you Chinese. Please tell me how to say it in English. If you say it very simply like this, they're going to understand what you want, especially after you show them the first one. And they're going to be like, play video games. You might notice a boy said it first, boys get a point. Okay, first student to say it gets the point. So you tell them, the first student to say it will get 1 point. Okay, keep going through all of them like this. And then we go shopping, they'll keep doing it. Go to the movies or go to the cinema, both are okay. So you just go through all of them like this. Play an instrument. Okay, first student to say it gets a point. Okay, so because this is something they can easily do, like they can easily understand the concept, it's Chinese, need to say it in English, it gets them thinking, okay, there's the Chinese meaning, what does it mean in English? There's the Chinese meaning, what does it mean in English? Okay, so you just go through all of these, you can rapid fire them eventually. This game will happen quick because you just go one by one and they're screaming it out, you're adding points, you're telling them good job if they say it right. If you notice the pronunciation isn't right or you hear people saying it wrong, you make them say it again. Okay, so go through all of them like this. Okay, you don't have to do so many rounds, but you maybe only do 10, right? It's fine. Or another option is if you want to not play with the entire class, I like the whole class for this, but you could just call on 5 students or a row to stand up. So a row, which includes lots of girls and lots of boys, you tell them, ready, and go. And then first person in that row to say it correctly. If it's a girl, girls get a point. If it's a boy, boys get a point. There's a bunch of ways you can play a game like this. The point is they're reviewing what they just saw, and you're making sure they really understand how to say it in English. Okay? Now, I'm going to play another game here. Okay? Maybe not, especially if I thought this was taking too long up to here. But if I thought it was going well, I would have been showing them a TPR, an action for each one of those things as I taught it. You know, like play an instrument, I have a little action for it. Go to the movies, I have a little action for it. Some teachers don't teach TPR, so this won't work. But if they teach with TPR, you can do this. So what I do is every time I teach a new word, I'm showing them an action. And my students are really used to this because this 5th grade class, I taught them when they were in 4th grade too. They're always asking me, what's the action for this? What's the action for this? What's the action for this? Because they know how to teach with actions. I have a video about TPR on my channel. You can watch it. And I think action is really good for cueing their memory to learn how to say something. So if they know an action for something, they can learn how to say it faster. So in this game, like I bring up maybe 6 students, 3 boys, 3 girls. I blindfold them. Then I stand next to them. They can't see anything. And then I hold up a flashcard of one of the things I just taught. And the whole class will say it. So I hold up play a musical instrument. The whole class says play a musical instrument. So actually the first student in the class to say play a musical instrument gets a point for their team. And then the students who are blindfolded in the front hear all the students say, play a musical instrument, and they have to do the action, okay? And the first student to do the action gets another point for their team. The reason this is useful is if other students can see each other, if the students can see each other, maybe they don't know the action, but they can just see their friend doing it and they can do it. Or they see someone sitting down minding the action and they can do it. If they're blindfolded, either they know the action or they don't, okay? And you really want them to be thinking on their own. You don't want them to be relying on being cued by someone sitting down or someone that does it faster than them in the front, because then you don't really know whether or not they understood or remembered the action. So I like the blindfolded game. I think it works quite well. I have videos of this you can watch in my other videos. Okay. So next part, I want to show them the dialogue. Now in this class, because I thought this was a lot of like longer sentences, I wanted to make sure they knew it. So I showed them in Chinese, and then I said, okay, the first one, and then I said, how do you say this in English? And the class, I might call on a student and they tell me, okay, and then it's translated, okay? Translated. I have a few students model it. I call on one boy and one girl. I tell them to ask each other, and one asks, one answers, back and forth. Or I might have one student ask the other student the first question, the next student answers it, and then I call on two more students to do the other part. Because a bunch of ways you could drill this, okay? And then I would do the same thing. I'll show you. So it's the same thing. We're just practicing it with a different answer, okay? So just showing them a few different ones. You might not even show the second one if you feel like the kids can do it. And then I want them to write it down in their notebook before we play the game. So I tell them to write this down in their notebook. They spend like a minute or two writing it down. I'm going around the room and I'm checking, making sure they wrote it down. This way they write it down, it helps them remember it, and also when they go home, their parents see that they wrote all these words down in class, these phrases, they wrote down sentences, questions. It really makes your class look like more of a serious class if they have a notebook, if the parents can see it, if the parents can see, and also some students really like to take notes. They learn better if they take notes. So I think it's okay, and especially with grade 5, grade 5 or 6, they should be taking notes. We're gonna play a game. Again, I just taught a simple dialogue. That whole dialogue was stuff that they learned during the class, and also other things which I included in a warm-up the week before, like how did you spend your summer vacation? How do you spend your free time? So this is the same sentence structure as I taught them before. Okay, we're going to play the ninja game. Now, this ninja game was, I believe, I obtained this from Warmup. It's a website where I think it's teachers in Korea. Like they post different games for learning English. It's an excellent website. I think now you need a subscription. One of my coworkers had a subscription to it before you had to pay for it. So Warmup means foreigner in Korean. So it's a bunch of foreigners live in Korea. They post these excellent games on that website, and you can just download it. It used to be that it was free. I think now you need a subscription. I don't have a subscription, but I know that's where this game came from. Okay, so the students know this game. They love this game, so they get really excited. So I call on one boy and one girl, and I have them... Actually, no. I call on 2 girls and 2 boys. They all 4 of them stand up, and then I ask the girls to go first. So I say, okay, you are Lisa, and I point at her, and I tell the other girl, 2 girls go at the same time, that she is Bart, the boy, and I point, and they do the dialogue, okay? They just read it straight off that, okay? And then I have the boys. Same thing. One boy asks the other boy, and they have a little dialogue. I'm like, okay, good job. If I think the girls did a little bit better than the boys, then I'll give the girls a point. If they both did really well, I might just give both of them a point, or might not give either one a point, because I'll say it was a tie. They don't need a point. And then I do this. Now, this is me. Okay, so like in a previous class, I taught them spicy, sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. Now, I could change this to other vocabulary, but I still wanted to be practicing these flavors, So I left them there. So what happens is the girls in my class, the girls know. The girls are Paris and Beijing, and the boys are Cairo and New York, okay? So each, like one girl is Paris, the other girl is Beijing, the other boy is Cairo, and the other boy is New York, okay? So each one would tell me where they want to go. So the one girl might say, like, I want to go to like spicy. So I'll say, okay, you're spicy. And I click on this. She goes to spicy. And then the boy goes, he tells me sour. Right, sour. And then the other girl tells me, okay, she wants sweet. So the practicing the pronunciation is the other thing. And the other boy says, well, he can say anything. They both can go on sour. Like he could go the same place as one of the girls. It doesn't matter. They can put them wherever they want. And then I say, send the ninjas. Now, the ninjas are going to come and they're going to kill anyone who's on the same place the ninja goes. So I'll show you. So I click it, and they don't know how many ninjas are going to come. So here's only one ninja. Now, it could be up to 4 ninjas. So in this case, the ninja went to bitter, and everyone else was on other ones. Okay, so in this case, the girls would get 2 points, and the boys would get 2 points. There's no one's losing any points because the ninja didn't kill them. Okay, that's the way the game works. The kids love this game. Okay, so we move on. Now, I start removing the language. Okay, in this class, I guess the kids were doing quite well. I knew I wanted to really challenge them at this point. So if you remove a lot of words like this right away, it can be a struggle, but you want them to struggle a little bit. You want them to have to think, okay? And also, it's not just the students who are playing who are thinking. The other students are thinking too. They're watching and thinking. Do they know it? Okay, again, call 2 boys, 2 girls, and you say, okay, boys go first this time. You tell one boy he's the girl. He's like, oh, no. And I'm like, okay, do rock, scissors, paper, decide. They rock, scissors, paper. The one loses. He has to be Lisa. Okay, and then the other boy gets to be Bart, and then they do the dialogue. The 2 girls, maybe the same thing happens. The girls don't want to be Bart, so they have to rock, scissors, paper, and then whatever. It could happen that way. And then you have them, so the two girls do the dialogue, the 2 boys do the dialogue. I judge whoever did it better. In this case, there's a lot of words removed. So how well could they do it without being shown the answers, you know? So I give points. Maybe the girls did better. I'm like, okay, girls get 2 points. Let's find out what happens with the ninjas. Again, if the girls chose first last time, I let the boys choose first this time. So the first boy tells me he wants to go to salty, and then the first girl tells me she wants bitter, because there's no way bitter's gonna have a ninja again. It just had a ninja. And then this boy has the same idea, so he's like, I want to go to bitter as well. And then this girl says, maybe I'll go to bitter as well. Okay, they're gambling essentially. And then I go, send the ninjas, and they say, send the ninjas, and then I send the ninjas. Oh no! Oh, another ninja. Ah! Oh. Okay, so 3 ninjas, and the ninjas killed them all. Okay, so in this case, no one gets any points. The kids are like, oh no! Okay, the point of this game is that it's exciting. They really like it. It's gambling. It's like Russian roulette or something. And they get to practice the English. You know, they practice the English and they play a game. They think it's interesting. So again, rinse and repeat. I mean, there's other ways you can do this. You could call an entire row to ask another row. Okay, but then it's going to start, you're not going to know what they said, and it's just going to be a little bit confusing. So if you play like 4 rounds of this, you know, and there's 4 students playing, like that's half the class pretty much just got to play this game. And the other kids were playing the other games. They can all see what's going on. So even though every single student might not be speaking during this game, you're still getting, you're having a lot of them practice, okay? The more students you speak, the better, but like, again, like I'm going to play this as a review in the next week, so other students will get to practice. So again, rinse and repeat, 2 girls, 2 boys, they practice, and then we go into the ninja game. They tell me, okay, the girls want to go first this time because the boys went first. So the girl's like, I want to go to sweet. The boy says, I want to go to sour. Then bitter was like the dangerous spot before, so he's thinking there's no way it's going to bitter again. And then this girl says, okay, yeah, I agree with his logic. You know, there's no way it's going to go to bitter again. So we send the ninjas. They also send the ninjas. Oh, sour dead. Cairo dead. Salty's dead. No one there. Oh, dead too. Okay, so now they're really excited, and these 2 survive. Oh, I forgot. Another important thing. I always ask the students after we do this, like, how many points do the girls get? And the girls say 1 point. And how many points do the boys get? And the boys say 1 point. I want them to hear me say this. How many points? You can even write it on the board, like at this question. How many points do the blank get? And you point at it in between rounds. After the ninjas come, you point at the whole class says the question, and the whole class says the answer. Okay? Rinse and repeat. We're sending ninjas. Let's send the ninjas. Let's see how many ninjas come. I think there's 4. I don't remember. Yep. Yep, there's only 3 ninjas. Okay, so I would say, how many points do the girls get? Or have them ask if the question's on the board. If you play this game a lot, the kids are going to know how to do it. Okay, so you rinse and repeat. And I don't think there's enough time, but if you do have enough time, you can also play the Sparkle game. I explained this game in another video. It's essentially you call on 5 girls and 5 boys, you bring them up, and they have to say the sentence word by word. okay? The question word by word. At the end of the question, so for example, this girl, the first girl in line, well, the first two, I explained this in another video really clearly, but pretty much the way it works is I line up 5 girls and 5 boys, and I tell them to stand boy, girl, facing the class, and on the PPT behind them is this structure. So they can see what it's going to be, and they can look at it before the game begins. And then I tell the first two to rock, scissors, paper to decide who's in first position. And they rock, scissors, paper. The girls win. The girls say, I want to go first. Okay, if the boys win, they can say, yeah, let the girl go first, or I want to go first. And then they go word by word. So, how often do you? And then she'd say, play video games. And then because it's the end of the question, the next student would say, sparkle. Okay, and the student after the student who says sparkle is out. They must go sit down. And then it goes to the next part, okay? The next student would say, I, and then the same thing, play video games, and she would say, once a week. At the end of this, the next person in line, who I guess would be this person, would say, sparkle, and the next person is out. So every time the question or answer ends, someone says sparkle and someone sits down. If they say the wrong word in the wrong place, or they forget the word, or they're standing there, I can't remember, and it takes too long, I say they're out. And eventually gets whittled down to 2 students, and the 2 students go through one by one. So 2 students be standing there. One says, how? Next one, often do you play an instrument? And I play an instrument once a month, okay? And actually, if it got down to 2 students like that, they wouldn't even make it past the first question because one would say sparkle and the other one would be out, okay? I explained this game more clearly in another video. So I think it's the previous video that I sent just before this one. It's in there. Okay, so if you're more curious, this explanation might have been a little bit vague. Okay, so again, same thing again. I'm not going to explain it here, but it's just sparkle. Word by word saying the question and answer. Last person in the sentence or the question says sparkle, and the next person in line is out. Anyone makes a mistake, they're out. It's pretty straightforward. The kids really love this game, so they would ask me for Sparkle almost every week, so I couldn't always play it with them, but they would always be disappointed if I couldn't play Sparkle. But I like it because you can quickly play it, and 10 kids play at once, or you can bring up 12 kids or whatever. You just don't want to have too many kids because then it turns into chaos. But 10 kids at the front, that's 20% of the class playing, or 25% of the class playing the game, so it's pretty good. All right, so at the end of class, I always count the score because I want to see who won, so I can award a star. You need to award a star at the end of class so that the students want to behave throughout the semester and they want to win. So at the end of class, I count the score. I count it myself in grade 5s because it's quick. So we're normally playing games until the bell rings. When the bell rings, I tell them to sit down. Everyone settles, and then I count the score. And then whoever wins, they get a star added above theirs, and I mark it down on my log which team won to add to the final. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention, I should have said this before, is that when you're playing games or in between rounds, it's so important to settle the class, to tell them 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and sit nicely, have them get quiet just before the next round. Otherwise, it's going to turn into chaos in between rounds. So you want to settle them in between every round. I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. That's pretty important. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be posting another video like this very soon. And yeah, I'll see you next time.